By the way, they can hear us.
Oh, good.
I
So
don't
if
know
you,
if there's anybody out there, but they can hear us. Oh, Dementor's
oh
here.
yeah, yep,
I was about to sing some Pink
Dementor,
Floyd.
Dementor. Did you ever like try to combine your color, your crayon colors to make a black and not quite get there? Because I tried and gosh darn it was always brown. And yes, this is the potential litmus test for how random we're going to be this evening. Maybe not the litmus test.
May God have mercy on your soul. Hey, Amanda. Hey, Infinius. Infinius is not here, it turns out. Sorry.
Yeah, that's interesting.
My bad.
He's the penguin from uh the
Madagascar.
Madagascar. You don't see us. We're not here.
All right, chat. How do we sound?
Oh,
Do
that's
you
cool.
remember melting them to make new crayons? Jesus.
That's
Yeah, you can
cool.
do that.
Yeah, I mean, a crayon is wax.
You put
Dude,
it
I've
into a hot glue gun and you can actually like melt them into like
I've
like
never
tote
thought of
things
that
with
before.
them and do them
Yeah.
on yeah.
No, I've been to the actual like Crayola museum and Crayola Center in Pennsylvania. It's close to where Carrie's family lives. So we've made a couple trips over there, especially when the girls were pretty young. So but how do I sound? This is what I sound like when I'm just talking normal.
Yeah. That was a serious question of how do we sound? They make a gadget to melt crayons and make new ones. The kid has one. Really? That's cool. High tech nonsense. What will they think of next?
It's
What was that, Dirk?
Said science. Maybe
Oh,
that's what they'll think of
I
next.
That is not what I heard when Dirk. What did you hear, Chewy? I don't know that I can describe it.
I heard like is.
Yeah, but it.
Science.
I thought it was like the hidden name of some foreign god, like the true name of something. It was like I don't think I could replicate that sound.
Thank goodness.
You should
I hear
you
you.
should isolate it in editing and send it to me, and that'll be my new ringtone.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
Dirk
Cthulhu
going.
Fatagan.
Yep.
Dirk is really quiet. That's because before I put the headset on, Dirk was like screaming at me, so I turned him way down. Let me turn him back up. Okay. Like for some reason, coming through the speakers, Dirk was super loud, and I kept wincing. But now that I've got the headset on, yeah, you're right. He is quiet.
Whenever you think of Cthulhu, I keep going, ring, 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 Cthulhu phone.
Wow.
I'm not familiar with that.
Hmm. Just be careful if you answer the call of Cthulhu.
Ah,
Wow.
I get it.
Wow.
So we dropped off Sam at my parents' earlier to have some dinner while Carrie and I went out and went to a consignment sale and did one or two other things. And when I came home, Mom was showing Sam the very first episode of I Dream of Jeannie. And I'm like, I have not seen that show in forever. We used to watch that show on Nick at Night. And I asked
That
Sam, what
still
did you think of it?
exists.
It still exists. It's dude, it's
Like
the age of
show,
streaming.
like Nick at
They
Night
don't
is.
make new ones. I don't know if Nick at Night still exists because we kicked the cable to the curb.
Yeah.
But I asked Sam, I'm like, what do you think? And she's like, it was okay. It was kind of weird. And I'm like, yeah, I think it was kind of the product of its time. But I remember watching a lot of that.
Soon I'll be showing Sam the first episode of Manimal.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, nobody remembers Manimal. It
It's
was
like
like a
no, it's
single,
Animorphs.
sort of, yeah. It was a single season of a dude who could turn into animals. Yeah. Anyway,
Man, okay.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Anyway, so hello, this is a Dorks Just Chatting. We were gonna do an actual like topic, but Mike got hung up and hasn't shown up yet, and we didn't want to delay any longer. So we'll do that hopefully next week. And we decided we'll just sidestep into a just chatting this week. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And Mike will show up at some point, hopefully.
Hopefully. I like Mike.
He's all right. I like Ashley.
Ashley's pretty great. You know, she likes Mike for some reason, so we put up with him.
Yeah, I had Mexican food with them. Was it last weekend? Weekend before? It all runs together. And
Time. Mm.
and then we came back here, and I was like, okay, now what? And Ashley was like, can I play Swarm? Was that the name of the game? Swarm? Can I play it? which is which is a VR game that uh, they discovered right before the headset died the last time they came over. So I was like, yeah. She's like, sweet. Got strapped into the headset and started swinging around and shooting robots and whatnot. It was it was adorable.
Nice.
That the one where if you move, then like the bullets move fast, but if you don't move, then they don't. They move very slowly.
No, that's super hot.
That's what it was.
Yeah, Swarm is what if Spider-Man had guns.
Spider-Man doesn't need guns. He's Spider-Man.
But your guns have like grappling hooks attached to them, and you swing around a circular arena that has platforms floating in it for you to swing from, and you shoot a bunch of different kinds of robots that are flying around or attacking you or whatever. And it's really good. And somehow, I still haven't figured out how, but unless you already have like motion sickness problems, you won't have any sort of motion sickness from it. At least none of us that have tried it that didn't already have motion sickness issues. We have not even slightly felt it. Mike did almost fall over at one point, but that's because he got too into the swinging, not because it like started to affect his brain. But yeah, it's really good. But anyway. So yes, we're here to just chat about things. We've got nothing though. So cuz we like I said, we already had like a topic in mind, but we can't do that now. So now we don't know what to do. So hey chat, what y'all want to talk about? This is how desperate we are. We're asking Twitch chat for like topics.
Yeah.
Maybe not desperate. That's the wrong word.
No. We can talk about things, but I am genuinely curious. What would some people in the chat like us to talk about? As long as it isn't too polarizing or too personal. We
Yeah.
don't need to know what Dirk has been seeing the doctor for.
I mean, I do know what Dirk has been seeing the doctor for, and we really don't. Nah.
So we have a suggestion: the weather. The
That's
weather has been.
that's awful.
The weather has.
Been
Yes, I know it's supposed to be a boring topic, but the weather here has been downright insane. Like, if there's a weather god, they have been snorting cumulus clouds or something.
No, well,
Like
what it
it's
is it's Sim City, where you've got your city, it's up and running, and then you save it, and are like, okay, I've got 15 minutes before I need to get off. Let me see what damage I can do to this, and so you summon in. All right, tornadoes. How about a blizzard?
Oh,
How about a
aliens.
meteor?
Yeah. Oh no, every game of SimCity with me started out with me being like, all right, this time I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna know this is the right ratio of taxes that people won't hate me, but I'll still get enough money to build ballparks and stuff, and I'll play for like 2 hours, and I'm just out of money, and I'm like, screw it, bring on the aliens, just to watch it all blow up. So that
Because
okay, I haven't seen it.
California's got just unnatural amount of snow. No, you
Whereas,
cannot.
yeah,
Yeah, and here it
whereas,
careens wildly between 70 degrees and like 40 degrees.
yeah, it
Yeah, it's
was
been in the
eight.
30s the past couple mornings.
It was 80. What, like a week or two ago,
Oh, not
and
even.
then
No, it was last
not.
week.
It was last week, and then it's been in the 30s. And a coworker reminded me that a couple of years ago we had snow in March, and I'm like, all right, it's still a possibility. So,
Bogard
um,
asks, can you actually win Sim City?
I don't know that you can.
There
I
is
know that.
no, yay, you won and all that.
Yeah,
SimCity is one of those games that just has no ending.
yeah. There's no end sequence or anything, but I think the goal is to get to the what is it, the megalopolis?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
it's
remember
to
how many people that was.
Well, I think
over a million, I think.
if you get enough megalopolises, they will take off and like go out somewhere in the galaxy to colonize a new planet, and your game on Earth keeps going, and you're basically starting over again. I think I managed to achieve that one time in edit mode where I was just like fill up the map with megalopolises, and
I
it was
think
like
you're
What were you playing
confusing
that you get
something.
that?
A megalopolis is just the level
oh, it's
above the
just a
metropolis population level.
Yeah,
okay,
but I say I got
okay.
where I played SimCity, is it 2000, where you could get the structures that were the
That's what I'm thinking of. The
okay,
like
but
the
they never took
spaceship
off as
looking
far as
ones.
I
Oh,
knew.
the arcologies, is that what they were called?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. No, so the most advanced ones, if you got enough on the map, they would all take off. I'm sure there's a
Huh.
YouTube video of it somewhere, Dirk. So,
Well, I'm not gonna
SimCity
go back and play
2000,
SimCity 2000.
it would take you about 50,000 hours to build up to that point. Um,
No, just
but
put in the cheat
by
that says infinite money.
well, there or that, yes, because
Okay, here
that's
it
how I
is.
found it too.
The launch Arco trick can be done on the DOS and Mac 1 version 1.1 and also the
Okay.
Window version of SimCity 2000. After building 301 launch Arcos, which is a type of arcology, and
Yeah.
after the year 2051, a message will appear saying, "The exodus has begun." The Arcos will appear to explode one by one, taking over 2 minutes to complete, and the game will show another message. Your launch Arcos have departed into space to find new worlds. You have been compensated for the construction. Ha!
Yeah. Yeah.
I did not know that.
There you go. There was one time where I was playing with just the editing feature on, and I just filled up the map. And the launch arcos are the most expensive structure to make, and they also have the highest capacity. Each one is basically a city in and of itself. So
Yeah, each
they'll
one
like you say,
holds 65,000 inhabitants.
yeah.
Hmm.
Good lord.
So what? 301 of those.
Yeah.
So
I played SimCity on the Super Nintendo for a while, but never like seriously. And then I had SimCity 2000 on the PC and played it a lot. Like I loved the complexity that it added from the original.
yeah,
And then I never
that's the
played
one
any
I.
more past that. I own Cities Skylines, which is the spiritual successor since I think it was EA drove SimCity into the ground with the last release, which was in like
Yeah.
what
It
2013 or something.
some it and apparently, and I heard about it coming out. And I was like, maybe I'll pick that up. And luckily, I didn't because
Yeah.
on launch it was unplayable, and I don't think they ever fixed it. Maybe somebody can tell us if they did.
Oh, they
I
they
played a lot of.
fixed it, but by then no one cared. And I think
Uh,
there were other problems that other than it being unplayable.
I
Like
remember like you had to. It was online only, which a lot of people were like, "Why?" It's Sim City.
yeah.
We understand you want to do like patches, but why? But no, I played the heck out of some SimCity 2000. I played the original one. I played SimCity 2000. I think that's about as far as I went.
Yeah,
Um,
like I said, I own
and
Cities Skylines. I just haven't, and it's installed because I think it's what I'm gonna make as my like chill stream game. But I still haven't actually played it.
there was a game, and I think it came out before SimCity. And
Lies. There were no games before. Oh wait, no, never mind.
it was only there was only SimCity. Um, and I'm looking to see if I can't find out the name of it.
What did it
But you
do?
essentially you play as God, and
Populous.
you populace. Amazing. That's all you play as God. Um, there you go.
I don't know if Populous
Uh,
was the first God game, but it was one of the earliest.
yeah,
This was great.
it was slow, and at the time I was like, okay. And now looking back at it, I'm like, wow, that was very, very slow. But yeah, populous. Hi, Mike.
Hello.
Oh, hey, buddy.
Hey.
Mike,
Sorry,
did you ever
like,
play any Sims? Oh, I can turn off the 404 on Mike. Did you ever play any Sim City or games like that?
Sim City. There was I played Sim Earth.
I like the way he said Sim City like he was tasting it, like Sim
He did. He
City.
Well,
did.
I was trying to remember. I know I haven't played Sim City proper, but I know I've played other Sim games. So Sim Earth. Um, Thomas found a game in a bargain bin that was called Streets of Sim City. I don't even remember what it was. Like you drove around in a car, just not really
I
doing anything.
think I think if I'm remembering this correctly, I think that was like an expansion that you could drive around your cities for whatever
We
game that
didn't
was an
have.
expansion for, but it had a couple of cities built in.
Okay, yeah, because we
I'm
didn't
pretty
have
sure.
Sim City.
At least I think that's right. Huh. Because I
see,
remember
my
seeing the box for that at like not GameStop, but whatever GameStop was at the time. EB Games, I guess. No,
yeah.
Electronics Boutique.
See, my experience like SimCities 2000, I played a little bit. The one I remember playing was the OG SimCity,
Hmm.
like the very first one.
But did you play
That
on
was
PC or Super Nintendo
Or
PC.
window.
or
Yeah, it was
Window?
like
Windows.
yeah, Windows. Because this was back when I played it when monitors had just started to be like good VGA monitors
Oh
started to come
wow.
out. And that like the first experience I ever played to was at a friend's house because his parents had gotten a good VGA monitor that could actually like show the game off well. Because prior to that, you had really just awful monitors, like computer monitors.
It's true. Yeah, this
Um,
like big ass 4K, or I don't think it's 4K, but this big ass Odyssey monitor here that I take for granted every day. Yeah, no. We're talking like 256 colors, maybe.
hmm Yeah, the if you go back and you look at like the original Civilization game, that is the level of
Oof.
like technology and everything with regards to this. Um, but I remember our favorite thing to do was, if you always had traffic problems. Well, the way you got around traffic problems is instead of putting down roads, you just put down
Oh, you put down rails.
rails, and you never got any problems about traffic.
Yeah, you never had traffic problems. You never had pollution from traffic.
hmm
Yeah, that's how I played the Super Nintendo one, and there were only like two trains that would wander around, so nobody could get anywhere. But there was no traffic, so shut up.
Yep.
Oh man. And yeah, on this, as Bogard is reminiscing about on the Super Nintendo version, there was a the monster attack instead of being a big lizard was Bowser, which I always thought was hilarious.
So, Mike, what do you think of the weather?
Oh, God. Notice how the weather conversation did not last long before we pivoted into SimCity.
Into Sims. So we specifically said while you were off doing your thing that we would maybe turn to chat and see what chat wanted us to talk about. And the first suggestion was the weather. And we talked about how crazy it was, and that led us into, where you can control the weather? Sim City.
Okay. I don't have a strong opinion about it.
Yeah, because it's terrible.
I know that it was kind of cold yesterday and the day before, but that's it.
And tomorrow it's supposed to be rainy and dreary and yay.
Just like my life.
Oh.
Looks like it's actually going to be slightly chilly for the rest of the 10-day forecast that my phone can see. It's about time. I'm about sick of 80-degree weather popping up out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Stupid North Carolina freaking weather. Jesus Christ. Night, man.
All over the place.
I see. Go be a millionaire in Animal Crossing and just leave us. It's fine.
I have never played a game of Animal Crossing.
It's a fun game.
I've heard that.
It's a fun game for a certain type of person.
It's a fun game depending on who is playing it.
Also,
sounds like most games,
right? Also, hey, I missed it. Bogard, thank you for that 25-month resub. When he asked, "Can you actually win SimCity?" I missed that it was a resub. I just read the message. Oh, see, look, my man is like, "It's so fun" in all caps right after saying, "I have baby shower prep." What baby shower prep do you have to do where you can't have us on in the background? That's terrible.
Well, she also has to be playing Animal Crossing. How do you think she got to be a millionaire?
That's true, yeah.
So,
but like for me, as the type of gamer and that I am, and the type of games that I play, Animal Crossing sounds miserable to me.
Why?
Because it's.
I'm not judging. I'm legitimately curious.
So okay, it works on a regular schedule for one thing. So like if it's 2:00 when you're playing, it's 2:00 in the game. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
This is about the Switch version anyway. And like things can only happen at certain points during the day or night, and your character is like the rest of us. Your character is a slave to capitalism.
Okay.
And it's just it's like a little second life where you make friends with people and you do random nonsense throughout the day that you can sometimes sell stuff for money that you then give to your landlord, who then invents new debt for you. And
yes.
That sounds too much like real life.
Yeah, and like it's adorable, and the people that love it just love it beyond all reason, and
It sounds interesting, and I actually kind of dig the tied to real life time sort of thing. I remember reading Nintendo Power and back in the day, and hearing that Ocarina of Time would actually have like transition between day and night, and thinking that is amazing because technology at the time, that's kind of blew my mind. And in Ocarina of Time, like while you're in the overworld, every day is like 2 minutes, so it's switching over a lot. So I kind of dig the whole, hey, it's 12 o'clock in real life, it's 12 o'clock in here. But for anybody that has a job, and if there's something where you're like, okay, you have to do this, I'm thinking about my schedule. If it was something at like 10 in the morning, I would never get to do it. Ever. Because
Amanda did say you can time travel on Switch. So what is New Cross?
Oh, you have to wait from chat.
The clock.
Okay.
You go into your own Switch timer and say, "Oh, no, I'm not on this time. I'm on this one." And it will adjust the clock to that.
Okay.
I don't
Oh,
think
So
so it's a
that's.
God
you can
game
have
too.
it so it's like 5 hours off.
I don't think that's what Amanda's talking about. I think Amanda is,
No,
because that
well,
doesn't
no,
seem like the sort of thing Amanda would do.
well, you could potentially, well, you can't really change the year or anything, but
So
yeah, you can change. I think you can change what, I don't know about the months, because you
I
could
mean,
do
if
that on the original one. Was you could go in and say, "Oh no, it's not, you know, March, it's December," and then it would be snowing in the game.
did we just lose?
Yeah,
Did
because
Dirk
that's like
just like blink out for anybody else?
I could
I don't
hear him
know.
through most of that.
You could hear me or could not.
I could.
I
Okay.
maybe it was me.
It
But so
was,
in the
yeah.
original one, if I wanted to set up the original one so that it was always Christmas Day, I could keep it Christmas Day.
Yeah. You just had to
Nice.
keep. You would have to go in when you turned on the. It was at that time. It was
the GameCube.
the GameCube. You just had to go in and say, the day is December 31st or 35th, 25th, whatever Christmas Day is.
You'll get there eventually.
I'll get there eventually.
Lousy smarch weather, you know.
Wow.
But yeah, you just had to go in and just go back into the clock and just say this is the day and time, and that's how you did it.
What system was the original Animal Crossing? That was on the 64, wasn't it?
Nope, it was the GameCube.
That seems.
No,
I
it
haven't
was
played
on
any of
Nintendo
them,
64, Mr. Know-It-All Face.
Really? I had the original. I'm pretty sure that was on the GameCube.
Well,
Well, now-
you are wrong, idiot.
weren't there some 64
Oh,
games that were later
sorry.
ported over to the GameCube?
You are not wrong. Yeah, it was enhanced and released on the GameCube later that year in Japan.
So you're both
Oh,
right.
okay,
So we're both right.
So
It's
it
like
was on
when-
the 64 there, but here it was on the GameCube.
Was it?
It's like
I don't
Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword was released on the GameCube as well as on the Wii, but the GameCube you didn't have the motion controls, you just pressed A to swing or something like that. So, and they may have done that with what's the one before that? The wolf one.
Oh yeah, the wolf one.
Yeah. Twilight Princess.
There you go.
Thank you.
So, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Because I played the GameCube one, but then Chelsea played the Wii one, and she dedicated her life to playing the Wii version. Like when you talk about people like, you know, Amanda having a million, I think it was like coins or
Bells.
something, whatever it was, the currency.
Bells.
Bells, yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah, Chelsea easily had that, and she had all the furniture, she had all the songs, we had originally found all the fossils and the fish and the bugs and everything, because that's the whole thing is depending on what the season is, certain creatures would show up at certain times.
And you could
So,
kill
like,
them
only
and
the
turn their
fireflies would
flesh
only
into
show up.
clothing. No, wait, sorry,
Yeah,
wrong game.
The fireflies would only show up at night during certain seasons, and they wouldn't show up and all that. And you only 3 fossils would show up each day, and you'd have to go find them, dig them up, and then have them looked at. And if they were ones you didn't have, you could donate them to the museum. If they weren't, then you could just sell them for money.
All right, we're
You know,
getting awful
adding a
deep in the
fossil.
weeds here on the minutia of freaking Animal Crossing.
Well, I know, but that was the whole thing. Was like she and I used to compete to play this, so that because it was a shared world, she had her house and and I had my own house, and so we would actually fight over who got to play first to get money out of bells in the game.
sounds like a super solid foundation for any relationship.
What the?
One
I
based
mean,
on
you
competition and who has the bigger house.
you don't have to compete. I know that Amanda and her boyfriend and the kid all have houses on their island, and they all just play at different times and will occasionally mess with each other.
Can you graffiti?
No, you just go and pick up their stuff and move it somewhere else.
Well, I mean that's there you go. Log on.
Like,
Where's my car?
yeah, you
Dude.
could go in and turn stuff on. I
Oh,
think depending was you could go and take their furniture and you could then like put it in storage and things like that. Depending on who was playing and everything.
They don't play
man, it was
anymore. Oh, that's a bummer. Well, they
Amanda was
used to
saying
all play.
in the chat that it said weeds covering your island, etc. So I guess what if you don't play in a while, people leave and um, you're not there to take care of your stuff. That's kind of interesting. I remember on the Wii, Carrie and I got very much into the fitness for a while, which we've been saying we need to get back to. But like, if you didn't log into some of the exercise programs like Wii Fitness, or we had an EA Fitness as well, they'd be like, "Oh, you haven't worked out in like a day. Oh, you haven't worked out in like a week." And after a while, it almost became more of a disincentive because I'm like, I don't want to get yelled at by my game. It's gonna tell me I haven't done this in 5 years,
Like the
so
Duolingo owl these days who will like threaten you with a knife or something.
I think so. Yeah.
At least that's what I've heard.
Hmm.
Uh, I
So
don't know.
we've covered what we're gonna cover about the weather. Sorry, what's that, Chewy?
I never got into the. I don't want to use the word casual games because that implies something else. But I never got into the like life simulation game like The Sims or Animal Crossing or anything like that. Although I do want to play Stardew Valley. That's not really a life simulation. That's more of a like farming and relationship simulator.
I I don't know. It's kind of intrigued me for a little while. I haven't gotten into any of them, but I remember back in the day playing like EverQuest, and after a while, because I didn't have the newest computer, it moved on to a version that my computer would not support it. But they also added a thing where you could buy plots of land. I remember at the time just thinking, "Oh man, I want for some reason, and I think this is when I was in college, so I didn't own real estate yet, but the thought of like in this shared world, it wasn't just going to be me, but other people could see like my house, and I was going to have like a big house or a castle or whatever. That was like, that is the goal. And maybe, college age Brian is already thinking of like the my house is bigger than your house. Take that, the Smiths or Browns, whoever you live next to. But just the thought of doing that in a game just seemed very cool to me. So I think I get where the whole slice of life that sort of thing comes from, even though I don't play those games now. But I could I know I could play a game now where I could build a house and like decorate it and all that, but the thrill to me was like seeing mine and seeing everybody else's too, if that makes sense. And also, still going out and killing monsters and stuff. But I don't know, we're talking about like the early 2000s, so the thought of like building a house and decorating it was actually a little kind of customizing it was a little more cutting edge for video games as opposed to like the thousands of choices we have in that genre now.
Well, yeah, because that ended up being, you know, popular.
A thing, yeah. And so, see, other people wanted it too.
Yeah, I don't know. That sort of thing has just never grabbed my brain.
I know for a while you said that when we were talking about like video game genres, and it came up in a previous discussion, you mentioned that you don't know how much you buy into genres just in general because nowadays things can fit into so many different categories. A game can be like an action RPG, roguelite, card game collector sort of thing.
Yeah.
It can the lines blur a bit. Um, but is there a video game genre, so to speak, where that's not generally based around combat that you think you enjoy?
Hmm.
Because combat is, you think about games in general, but especially video games. Combat tends to be one of the things that's not, it's not in every game, but is in so many games because it represents conflict. And conflict is just a part of storytelling. That's just an essential part. If your story has no conflict, it's a boring story, and if you're playing the story, why are you playing it? Everybody was happy forever. That's awesome. Even in games where you may not battle things, you have obstacles to overcome. So,
Yeah.
conflict. But
Uh,
anyway, I asked a question. I kept going. Go ahead.
I think I like a lot of different flavors of puzzle games, which even the word puzzle games is not that there are billions of different types of puzzle games, so that doesn't narrow it
Sure.
down at all. But
Well,
yeah,
like
most puzzle
Zelda
games
has
don't have
puzzles in it. Yeah.
yeah, most puzzle games
Sorry.
don't have something you have to beat the hell out of.
Yeah. There
Most
are
of them.
there are games that you beat the hell out of things like Zelda that also have puzzle elements. But you're talking about kind of the inverse of that, a game that is directly the objective of the game is the puzzles, right?
Yeah, like, Tetris or what's the thing? Baba is You. There we go. I knew I would come up with the name eventually.
I don't think I've heard of Baba Is You.
So, Boxel, or on the Genesis it was called Shove It, or I forget what the Japanese name is. But a top-down game where you're pushing boxes onto spots where they need to be. That sort of thing.
I had not heard what you just, like the name that you mentioned, but I am familiar with that concept that you just said. So we'll say yes for the
Sokoban.
purpose of the discussion.
Sokoban is what that original game was called. Uh,
Okay.
and in the early days, there were just an assload of Sokoban type games. And Baba Is You is like that, except instead of pushing boxes around, you're pushing words around. And the words make the rules of each map or each level. So like Baba Is You will be words on the map that show that you as the player are controlling the sheep.
Baba, I get it.
Yeah,
Okay.
so the Baba is you. And it'll say like uh wall is stop, which means you can't walk through the walls, and flag is win. And you can push things like you can push the words around, so you can move the wall from wall is stop, and now you can walk through the walls as if they're not walls, they're just a different tile.
So you still have the phrase is stop, but it doesn't have anything connected to it?
Yeah, stuff like that.
Okay.
Like that's I think the idea of like the second level. Like
Okay. I have a thing with puzzles, be they, puzzles in games or like puzzles that I get from mom every Christmas and I help her put together and all that, is that they make me feel smart until they make me feel very dumb and I get frustrated and walk away from them.
that
And
is how puzzle
maybe
games work. Yeah,
but I
100%.
have a I have a lower tolerance for them than some people, which is not to say I don't enjoy them, but I don't enjoy staring at a screen for a very long time, feeling like I'm too dumb to get this. I again, I have some tolerance for it, but if it's a real thumper, then I'm probably not gonna get involved because I already know where this is going, and I in that amount of time I can stomp on like 15 Goombas at least. So,
Yeah. There are other
what do you guys
games
think?
where like the puzzles, like the combat is a puzzle, but my brain
Hmm.
is not telling me any of the games that fall into that.
Like Bejeweled?
What?
Well, I guess maybe not.
But I mean, where you're actually fighting things, but how you go about doing it is a
Is
puzzle
through a
you have
puzzle.
to figure
Yeah.
out. I'm sure there are some like boss rush games where that's the thing. Oh, freaking Shadow of the Colossus is
Yeah, yeah,
essentially a
yeah.
puzzle combat game.
I've heard of it. I've never actually played it or seen it, but I know I've heard the name of that game before.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you have. Into the Breach, and Phineas said. Yeah, Into the Breach is a like a turn-based, tile-based like tactical combat game, but it's really a puzzle game cuz unlike like XCOM or something, it's much more puzzly than I don't know how to explain it having never played it myself. I'm only aware of it.
Okay.
Do I have Into the Breach?
What sort
Into
of puzzle
I do.
games do Mike and Dirk enjoy if they enjoy any?
Yeah, nerds.
Let's see. Um,
Mike's a smart guy.
Mike's a
So
smite guy too. Mike will kick
he
the.
is.
I mean, nothing.
um, I guess crosswords counts as a puzzle game.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. I used to have a crossword app on my phone that I just got tired of it. Because some of the puzzles just started to get too samey. But then I found, well, maybe I actually found it. Um, it's like a book of crossword puzzles at Ed McKay's for like 75 cents one day when we were in there looking around. And no one had touched it. No one had filled out anything in it. So I've gotten a lot of enjoyment out of that 75 cents book of crossword
Cool.
puzzles.
So,
Carrie's
Mike, would you
grand
say it was worth?
It was. Definitely was.
Carrie's grandmother, who is no longer with us, uh, used to do crossword puzzles and like used to do them in ink. And
Yep, I use Zinc.
apparently, there you go. She was very, very good at them. And I remember we went to a baby shower for Carrie's stepsister, and her grandmother was still alive then. And baby showers. I don't know if Amanda's still in the chat, but baby showers you tend to have a lot of like themed games and whatnot. And one of the things was a crossword puzzle that had a lot of baby centric uh, words in it. I remember looking at them and like just reading the instructions and trying to get a handle on it. And she's like done. She was like, that was not hard at all. And I'm like, there were like 20 to 30 clues. And she's like, yeah, that's all. And just like, boom. So
That's not a very long crossword puzzle.
I'm trying to remember however many it was. It's stupidly
Mm,
fast. And meanwhile, I'm the turtle that's like, all right, five down, three across, starts with A. Wait, dang it, that's not an A. So
I think
but
I got into them because both of my parents would. Both of my parents liked to work on the crossword puzzle in the newspapers when they still got a daily newspaper. Um, and it was interesting to me to go in and try to finish them up once they had started because they rarely had time to um, finish all of it. And I started doing them on my own. When I was in when I was in grad school, um, sometimes when I would take the bus into campus from my apartment, if I was able to pick up a newspaper, like the school newspaper, before getting on the bus, I would challenge myself to try to do the whole crossword puzzle on the bus ride in before I got off to go to class. And more often than not, I was able to do it. It felt pretty good.
Cool.
And it's like I feel like after I'd finish a crossword puzzle, I feel like I've learned something. So that's also part of the enjoyment. Like I never got into Sudoku. Like yeah,
Like it.
you can figure out the puzzle, but it's just like I feel like I'm just sitting there doing work. I don't. I never felt like I never felt like I got anything. I got any growth out of it or anything.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
interesting because I am not a numbers person at all, like at all. And I, for a while there, I was doing Sudoku all the time. Like I would do it on lunch break
Mm.
when I was working for the clerk's office. So, which I didn't even, it's funny. I didn't even think of it as a puzzle at the time. It was just, and I'm not a numbers guy. So I was, wow, you're blowing my mind, man.
There's a nice cross between crossword puzzles and Sudoku that is Picross. I
Bless
did.
you.
Thank you. I did an entire like game of Picross on Steam called what's it called? Paint It Back.
Hmm.
That is it's just a bunch of because all the paintings were stolen or something, erased, or I don't remember the story. It doesn't matter. It's just a whole crap load of Picross puzzles that get progressively more
Difficult.
complicated,
Okay.
difficult, both. And so yeah, it was uh, it was very relaxing. It's what I used to listen or to do while I was listening through odds and ends because it takes enough brain power to occupy the part of my brain that gets bored listening to us talk, but not enough to where I miss the stuff we're talking about.
That's a good
And
intersection.
and when you say Picross, like I'm blanking on exactly what you're describing. What is that?
So Picross is it's a grid and it's got numbers along each side that represent the number of the spaces that are shaded in a row. So if you're doing like a 10 by 10 and you see like uh what 421,
Okay, yeah,
so you
I know
know
what you're
that
talking
there's a run of 4 and then a run of 2 and then a single one by itself, but there has to be a space in between each of those. So now you have to figure out which ones to fill in. And it's also logic problem. So it's a combination of crossword, Sudoku, and logic problem. You're like, okay, well, if there's a 4 here, and that means there's 10 spaces across, but 421 is 4, and then a space is 5, and then 2 is 6 7, and then a space is 8, and then the 1 is 9. That leaves one that we did that is a wild card. Like if it was 422, you could fill it in that whole row immediately, but it's not. So you got to figure out, okay, well, how many different ways can this be filled in, and which ones have guaranteed filled in spots, and stuff like that.
right.
And it becomes just a massive extrapolation of data, which sounds miserable, but it is a lot of fun. Like in Japan, there was a Super Mario Picross on the Super Nintendo that we didn't get here in the States, which
Hmm.
is crap. Screw you, Nintendo. But
See, I know that type of game by a different name,
okay,
but
what's the name you know it
I
as?
do not remember what it is. I don't remember. I just know that I know it
Picross.
by a different name.
Other names. Nonograms. That's probably it.
Nonograms, yes, nonograms.
Yeah, there we
That's how I
go.
know. Yeah, I had a nonogram app on my tablet that I played through for a long time, and it frustrated me because like it was it was a little bit episodic. Like the first set of levels were first part of one story, the next set of levels were another part, and the third set of levels like went to a different story. And then when I the next one was like, oh, more levels coming soon. I'm like, what? Because they never finished the story from the first two parts, and I'm pretty sure I saw like a sequel to that game in the app store. So I'm like, you jerks, you just went on and you never finished the story.
Bastards.
Yeah.
Apparently.
So Dirk, we never gave you a chance to tell us about your puzzle game thing that you might like or don't.
Um,
All right, that's
I'm gonna
enough
say
from Dirk.
I'm gonna say Minecraft. Like, there's a bunch of them that I like to do, but if we're gonna talk about one that I do come back to and enjoy doing is Minecraft.
So
Uh,
that. Go ahead.
It's because it's not it's not a puzzle game as in you know, find the pattern and all that. It's again, it's a hybrid of, depending on how you want to play it, it's an adventure game, it's a exploration game, it's a like Lego block game, it's a uh, just world builder. It's really whatever you want the game to be. Um, I like to go in and explore, build, and all that in survival mode, but I put it on peaceful so I don't have creepers blowing my stuff up. Um, but I like to go in and take a little village and then build it up. Like the one I have right now has a church. It's got automatic things. I'm actually been going in and flattening out a huge partial of land so I can have cow pens, pig pens, chicken pens, sheep pens, all that stuff. And I have to build it away from the town because when you get a whole bunch of animals in there, it lags the game up like nobody's business.
Weird.
And that is with like a really good rig at this point.
You think that's the sort of thing they would have patched out by now?
Well, no, it's not an issue of, oh well, it's low pixel and everything. It's no, there are literally, we're talking about a couple hundred individual creatures that are trying to do something.
So it's your fault. Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely my fault. That's why I'm like, no, I'm moving the farm animals away so that way they're not interfering with my villagers.
And
Because
here I thought it was going
there
to
are
be some
several
sort of
hundred
like.
things in that area, and the animals are the several hundred things making what I'm trying to do lag up.
Here I was thinking it was some sort of like local ordinance, like, the pigs can't be too close to the town because it's actually a health hazard and stuff like that. And Dirk's talking about lag.
I was
Yeah,
just
I'm
say
like,
yeah.
no. So a funny thing happened. Chelsea was also playing it, and she was playing it on the Super or the Xbox, and I was playing on my like downstairs one. And because it's all Microsoft, we could play together. Well, she was making a rabbit pit to get rabbit meat, and she had, I mean, just it had to have been several hundred rabbits in this pit. And the issue is she had so many of them in there that when she was like, okay, I'm trying to get out of this pit, she had bred so many of them in so short a time, the game literally lagged her off. She was trying to get to move, and it would literally, and I'm not exaggerating, she would hold down the controller, and it would literally take 2 minutes for the TV screen to make her move just slightly. And she, after about 30 minutes of just trying to move to get out of the rabbit pen, she's like, Dirk, I need you to take care of this rabbit pen because I cannot move. Like, literally, I cannot do anything. I am stuck here unless you do something. And I had to go in and I had to execute most of the rabbits in that pen because my computer, it lagged up a lot. but I could move faster than her. And that
This
means
is
I could actually do something in the game.
this is one of those unwritten marriage vows that you assume is, to have and to hold in sickness and health, and I swear to you I will, use my superior rig when your game locks up on you,
When
forever
you,
and ever. Amen.
but yeah, like, and it got to, it was bad enough that again, it didn't log her off. It did not kick her off or lag her out. I cleared the pin out enough that everything was fine. And then I went upstairs to be like, okay, I've done. Her game had not done anything, and she's still like, no, there's still like hundreds of rabbits in this pin. And I'm like, no, there's not. And finally, I think after she had been on for about an hour, the game finally just said, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and kick you off. You might want to just log back in and join up with the real world now. And when I say real world, I mean like Minecraft world. And
Well,
and when she did,
obviously,
she's like, "Oh, yeah, you really took care of that. The game runs fine now."
that's pretty
So
funny.
yeah, it, but it's again, that's the fun thing about Minecraft is you can do a lot of things in there. They update it fairly regularly with
Hmm.
new stuff. So and we both enjoy kind of looking and trying new things. Like earlier this week, I had never built a a farming collector. So like the villagers will farm. Like you say, I want you to do like I'm gonna give you wheat seeds. You're gonna make wheat or grain or whatnot. And I Chelsea had built an automated one where whenever they get too much, they just sort of toss it to the side. And she built a collector that automatically collects the stuff they toss to the side and puts it in a chest. And I'd never built one before. And Wednesday night, I actually built my first one to see how it works. And I showed her, and she's like, and she had pointed out the stuff where I had done wrong and everything. So that way, when I actually built it, it worked. And so far, it's working.
Well, okay then.
Like there's just a lot of stuff you can do in that game, puzzle
I've
wise.
I've heard a lot about Minecraft, although I don't think ever as much as I've just heard tonight. I've heard a little bit about it as far as, oh, it's you go around, you collect things from, you chop wood and you can use it to build things, and then later you can use metal and ore and gold and diamonds and whatever, and kind of create your own environment. So I had to laugh a bit when you said it, because I thought, oh, we've been talking about puzzle games and we've been talking about like SimCity games, and I just kind of thought there's an intersection there too. Not that it's like, city planning, but you could eventually build a city in there, right?
You you can, but the problem is villagers are dumb.
Uh,
And so if you
so
decide
just like real
I'm like
life.
gonna build a skyscraper and everything, the villagers are dumb. They I literally built a house that was like 7 stories tall, and I put beds all over the place. I would have villagers that would stand beside of how like even now they stand beside of houses, and the bed is inside the house. They will stand by the window next to the bed and get mad that they're not in the bed when all they literally have to do is turn a corner and the door is there to get in this house. And they will just stare through a window at their bed that is 5 blocks away from a door that will let you go to that bed. They and if you build too many beds into a house, then when it's time to go to bed, they all try to get through one door to get into to go where the beds are, and they will clog up the doorway. So when I build houses now, I don't build single door houses. I have to build double door houses. Because at least with double doors, they are more likely to not like bottleneck themselves at one door.
Wow.
So just like real life.
Yes.
I
Except
want this
in the
thing.
game, they just can't figure out that, oh, just one of you go in and then I'll follow you. Unlike real life where, the same thing happens, but there's yelling and screaming, but eventually people are just like, I'm just going in, and then everyone just sort of follows and figures it out.
Being very optimistic, but I appreciate that. I recall, it's funny, I don't think I had even thought of this until you mentioned the citizens having that sort of reaction. For a hot minute, I did play The Sims. And I had told, it's funny. Well, so I realized we were talking about SimCity before, but in my head, I completely compartmentalized because SimCity and The Sims are totally different. Totally
Yes.
different. And I remember like playing The Sims, and it's like, okay, the version I had, you had certain objectives, and I was trying to like get a family to like the kids would go to school and the adults would go have a job or whatever, and I would build the house, and the adults are not leaving to go to work, and they're getting upset because they're not going to the bathroom, and I'm like, I built you a bathroom. Why don't you want to go into the bathroom? I don't understand. And like, did I not build a door into the bathroom? Oh, this bathroom has no door. That would make it hard, wouldn't it? So I thought of that when you mentioned. Except at least the Sims were programmed to at least try to achieve their objective. Sometimes it was a problem on my part. You heard it was a running joke at the time. Sadistic people playing The Sims would like build a pool, and their sim is like, "Oh, cool, a pool." And you would take out once they're in the pool, you would take out the
The
ladder,
ladder.
and they could not get out on their own because I'm not gonna I say sadistic, but I subjected entire cities to Bowser, so what's one person, drowning in a pool compared to, a whole populace?
Are we all seriously messed up? I think we're all seriously
Yeah.
messed up.
I think we're all seriously messed up at least a little bit. I think it's the same reason that sometimes you enjoy playing a bad guy in a game is it's an expression of something that you normally don't let yourself do, or at least you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
But instead of playing a bad guy in a narrative where maybe I'll do questionable things because the story expects me to, I'll just destroy the world because I'm tired and taxes are too high. So
The rent, as they say, is too damn high.
it is. And apparently raccoons want all your rent.
Is that what he is?
That's what I've always heard, but I have never actually played an Animal Crossing game, so I'm going
Is
off
Tom Nook a
entirely what I've-
raccoon? Dirk?
It's what?
Tom Nook. Is he a raccoon?
He's a raccoon. I think he's supposed to be like yes, he's supposed to be like a raccoon.
Oh.
Or it's like what's the suit, the tanuki?
Yeah, he's a tanuki. Because apparently his name in the Japanese version is Tanukichi.
Does this mean that Mario can wear a Tom Nook suit?
I mean,
No.
why are you wearing that silly man suit? Anybody remember that movie?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I do. You need to tell me what it's from, but I feel like I know the quote.
Donnie
That's
Darko.
not Okay, I never actually saw that. I think I was thinking of Total Recall.
Why are you wearing that stupid rabbit suit? Why are you wearing that stupid man suit?
Does Tom Nook have a comically large nutsack, or did they leave that part out?
Not a physical one, but he does, he is a landlord, so he has a metaphorical, comically large nutsack.
He does also have, I think, 2 nephews.
Yeah, Timmy and Tommy, I think.
Yeah, they will.
They
If
run the
he's not
shop.
there, he's doing something. They will be there to like take your stuff or help you or.
Yeah. I know them from freaking Smash Ultimate. Oh, Amanda said yes, Timmy and Tommy. See? Told you you'd still be here. You could baby shower prep with us in the background. Hey, Jay Spencer with the 27-month resub. Thanks, buddy.
Nice.
Um,
So what's another genre of games that does not revolve necessarily around combat? We've got, simulators like, Minecraft, where you harvest materials and build things, although I think you can still fight things in there, but you don't have to, right? Because
Yeah,
Dirk, you
I'm on
said you could
peaceful
put on
mode.
safe mode. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've got puzzle games. I know that farming simulators like Harvest Moon were a thing for a while, probably still are.
yeah,
Is
that's what Stardew Valley is
Okay, I was gonna
essentially a
say.
modern day Harvest Moon.
I
Although
rented
that does
Harvest
have
Moon.
combat in it if you want it to.
I rented Harvest Moon and tried it on the SNES, and maybe this should sound super obvious, but I felt like it just
Excuse me.
like time took so long to pass in the game that I felt like I couldn't decide if I wasn't doing enough stuff because I'm like, I've planted all the things. What am I supposed to do now? Or
Oh,
or like, I felt like I was missing things, or I was just getting bored easily. So I'm not sure. But
Piccolo
there's farming
said
games. Go
walking
ahead.
games, which
Walking games.
yeah, they used to be referred to uh, in a derogatory fashion as walking simulators,
I
and
don't.
then that just sort of became what they were known as.
I
Uh,
don't. What do you do in it?
well, it depends. Like, I pulled up the walking simulator category on my Steam account, and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like the Stanley Parable is here, which is a first person. Most walking simulators are first person because they're indie games and that's easier to do. So the Stanley Parable is a very meta game about the illusion of choice. And then like The Park is another walking simulator, which is a horror game. Horror games are good for walking simulators.
Would
And
this include? Oh, what was that? The writing club one. Um,
the
or
writing
is
club
that another genre entirely?
one.
I guess
Are you thinking
I'm.
Doki Doki Literature Club?
Yes.
That is
Or
something completely different. But
okay.
I think I
I'm
haven't played it, and no spoilers, but I'm pretty sure that doesn't involve combat either. That's
okay.
more of a
Well,
visual novel.
I'm just trying to imagine what the walking simulator even like looks like to play. So it's first person, and you're going around and just interacting with people.
Yeah, I mean, by and large, they're narrative based.
Okay.
So like the
Well, that's
park is you're at an amusement park right before closing time. You're a mom, and your kid is like, "Oh crap, I left my something or other," and he runs inside, and the park is closed around you, and then you're walking around trying to find him, and horror movie things are happening. And then the Stanley Parable is narrated. Like there's the narrator who is the best thing in any video game ever. Don't at me. Um,
okay.
who narrates, you're working in a big company, and Stanley worked at such and such company where he sat at his desk and did as he was told. And then whenever you're walking down a hallway or something and you're presented with a choice, like, oh, there's a door that goes to the left and a door that goes to the right. And the narrator will say, Stanley knew that to get to the meeting, he had to go through the door on the left. And so then you can choose to either do as he says or go the other way.
What happens
And
if you choose the other way?
well, I mean, any way you go, the narrator will react to it appropriately, and then you're offered more decisions here and there.
Okay.
And
Well, you said it was
it's a
about the
massive
illusion.
it's a
Go
massive
ahead.
like forking. Uh, no, it's a massive decision tree where each one leads to a unique ending of sorts.
Okay, you said something about the illusion of choice, so I didn't know if it was like you try to go right and ultimately you just end up going to the meeting anyway.
I
So I
don't know.
didn't
The
know
the
if it.
the theme of the game is the illusion of choice because
Okay.
if you do, it's weird. If you do as you're told at every choice, you get the good ending. And I'm pretty sure if you do the opposite of that, you get like the worst or one of the worst endings. But, all of those are still decisions that were programmed into the game. You don't actually, as a player, have any choice that makes it different. Like, you don't have freedom. The only way to win is to not play, that sort of thing.
Hmm, gotcha.
But like there are others like Layers of Fear, another horror game where you're walking around a giant creepy mansion looking for things while messed up stuff happens around you. Dear Esther or Everyone's Gone to the Rapture are first person narrative games where uh, you're just walking around and story is happening.
Okay.
Like Firewatch actually is one of the better ones. You're a person who's stationed out in the forest on Firewatch duty, all alone, except for your radio where you can talk to the person that's in the nearest tower, which is very far away. And you're just walking around the woods and things are happening. Like, oh, there's some teenagers out by the lake. Could you go, make sure they're not setting fires or something or whatever.
Like teenagers do.
Yeah, like they're very, most of them anyway are very narrative focused. There are other games like Journey, which is
Mm-hmm.
technically a walking simulator because you're just a little character that walks around, but there's no combat. You're literally just walking around the environment trying to get to the next part.
Yeah, sort of like exploring the environment is
Yeah.
more like what that game is.
So
Well,
like
and
if you were in Breath of the Wild, but you weren't fighting anything, you were just kind of taking it all in.
yeah.
Yeah, like if you remove the combat from Breath of the Wild, it would probably be a walking simulator with some puzzle elements in.
Okay. Dark, you were
One
gonna
that I was
say?
thinking is not a walking simulator, but one that innately does not have like combat or anything would be Five Nights at Freddy's. 'Cause that's more like a horror genre, but you're not fighting them. You're just trying to be like, I'm gonna do this, to try and keep you out.
Yeah, a lot of horror games don't have combat exactly because you're not fighting anything, you're just avoiding. Like
Hmm.
Amnesia is listed as a walking simulator in my uh, categories here in Steam because you're a dude in first person wandering around and there are things coming to get you, but you can't do anything about it other than run away and hide. And a lot of games do that, like what Outlast. You can't fight off any of the lunatics that are coming at you. You have to run away and hide. And Five Nights at Freddy's is when you can't run away and hide in most of those, but you are still trying to avoid the baddies. Yeah.
Hmm.
And a lot of the walking simulators are also puzzle games, like The Witness is you're walking around this big open world area, but you have to solve a bunch of puzzles to open stuff up.
Oh, one I forgot that's a puzzle would be Ace. Attorney with
In
the
Ace,
Yeah,
right, Ace Attorney.
because that
That
one it's in essence it's a puzzle game.
it's like a puzzle game combined with a visual novel, like what Doki Doki Literature Club at least
yeah,
appears to be. So yeah,
yeah.
because you're
And
playing
then
through the story, but then you have to make certain you have to pay attention to the evidence and make the right selections at the right time.
Hmm.
exactly, yeah.
And
And
yes,
there's my
real.
favorite anime porn game is Honey Pop, which is a parody of dating simulator games and also a match 3 puzzle game
Hmm,
at the same time that has anime titties in it, but they're sort of beside the point. Well, for me, they were beside the point, but because I have the internet.
we do have. Well, I won't say anything about that,
We
but
do have the internet.
yeah, we have the internet. Yeah,
Thing that will bring the downfall of society.
No, that's
our highest
social media
highs and our
specifically.
yeah our highest
Hmm.
highs and our lowest lows. So
Point and click adventure games are also games that don't necessarily have combat.
true.
Yeah.
My
Well.
cousin had one when we were growing up, and it was set in a fictional Arabia or something like that. And I remember, like, the map was huge. I don't think he ever beat it. I don't know if there were elements that were randomly generated or what, but you're just wandering around this desert with mystical things, and I don't feel like there was any combat. I think there were a couple puzzles where you could defeat enemies, by making the right selection, but there was never like strength and magic and that sort of stuff, like actual combat. I don't even begin to know the name of it, but yeah,
And unlike
wasn't
every other game you've tried to bring up, I got nothing on that one.
yeah. Well, it always reminded me of what was that one on the NES where you're in a castle and you have to like click the objects
Shadowgate?
in the Shadowgate. It reminded me of Shadowgate.
It's amazing how Brian could give us the most bare bones thing and I can spit out a game, except for this point and click adventure set in a fictional Arabia. That one I got nothing.
Yeah, right. And it was on the PC. I don't even begin to remember. And yes, this
Was it
is
one of the
what
Quest
knowing
for
each
Glory
other.
games?
What's that?
Was it one of the Quest for Glory games?
I could not begin to tell you, man. I didn't own it. Uh, I don't want you guys racking your brains because you could say the name and I'd be like, so. And to Chewy's point, like this is what knowing each other for actually over 20 years will do.
Actually, no,
Eh,
I just know way too much about video games.
So,
I
but
also know how your brain works, so actually, yeah, you're right.
well, there you go. Point and click adventures. Did you ever try Maniac Mansion?
Yes, that was hard.
It was very hard. I don't think I ever found a way to get in the front door.
Well, that's sad.
Yeah, well, I was like 8, so I'll give myself some slack.
Yeah.
I played, I played, spent time playing all of the King's Quest games, but didn't finish all of them.
I'm trying to remember if that feels like it rings a bell for me,
Hmm.
but I don't know if King's Quest. I'm not knocking the name because I know you didn't come up with it, but that sounds
Yeah.
very generic fantasy. So,
Yeah, it is. There were over the years there ended up being like 8 games in the series. Um, I never finished the first one because I couldn't catch the stupid hawk. I did finish the second one. Didn't finish the third one because the King's Quest 3 had a things happening at scheduled times aspect of it that to me was just
okay.
too stressful and a pain in the neck to deal with. So I
So
didn't finish that one either.
if you advanced beyond a certain point, something there's an event that has already happened at that point.
I don't know how many one-time events there were like that, but it was like repeating scheduled stuff
Gotcha.
that
Well,
you had to know and organize. And
that was always one of the things that got me about Majora's Mask was like
Mhm.
with that schedule. And yes, you can go back in time and repeat it, but unless you were very good about remembering, okay, this person will be here at this point. Meanwhile, this other thing is going on between this hour and this hour.
Mhm.
And I bought it for the 3DS, and I've gotten further than I ever have in it, and I've actually enjoyed it a lot more. I haven't touched it in a while, but I was playing it pretty good for a while there because I think I was more organized as an adult. As a
Yeah,
kid,
Okay,
I
wait,
was
what
like
game are we talking about? I had to step
Ma-
away.
Majora's
Majora's
Mask.
Mask.
Okay, that's
I
what I
mean,
figured.
the notebook helps, but there are some things you just have to know.
Yeah. Which I know too, yes, it has lots of combat in it, but Mike was mentioning one of the King's Quest game that had events that only happen at particular times, and that immediately flashed me back
Yeah.
to
Yep.
And not
that.
only that, but you also had to manage like how much time you spent exploring the world before going back to the home base, because like the evil wizard who was your boss, if he went back home and you weren't there, he would show up, and sometimes he would just teleport you back, but sometimes he would kill you, and it was just stressful.
I would imagine. I think you should look for a different job personally, but maybe in this economy, it's all you can get.
Hmm. Did anybody else ever play the Carandia games, or was it just me and Scott?
Uh, my brother did with one of his
Really?
friends.
Nice.
What do you do in Corandia?
Oh, they're more point and click adventure games.
Okay.
Sort of
I
like
don't know. Are they set in Arabia?
no,
No.
they're set in Carandia. Weirdly enough, yeah.
Okay.
Scott and I played the first two, which was the Legend of Carandia and what was the second one called? Hand of Fate or something like that. We never played the third one, Malcolm's Quest, or at least not together back then, where the villain from the first game was the protagonist of the third game, which always struck me as weird. I have all of them on what is that, GOG. So at some point I'm gonna try to play those. I think on stream, at some far flung point in the
Mhm.
future.
Before or after we go into space?
Yes. Once I
Just
build 301 launch arcologies.
I flashed back to the second, and you mentioned that you have to set the timer to what 2051, which makes me think that at least at the time, they really thought that by 2051 it would have been feasible that we were close to doing that sort of thing. Uh, Optimism.
Hmm. Chet says, "What about board games?" I mean, I think most board games are built around non-combat, but
Yeah, that's true.
I don't actually play board games. I don't actually like board
During
games.
during COVID, my family started doing a lot more of those, and have since like dropped off a lot of that because as much as we enjoyed it, video games are easier to boot up.
It's
I'm
true.
not saying this is necessarily a good thing. I really enjoyed that we did something different for quite a while, and we haven't gotten rid of any of them. We can certainly go back to them, but yeah. But funny enough, some of those that we really enjoyed still had at least some element of combat to them. So, kind of going back to what I said before, combat is just a natural way to bring conflict into a setting because the whole concept is, you know, beat you up or lose.
There's
Right?
a Twitter account called Nonviolent Game of the Day, NVGOTD. If you're still on Twitter, and if not, I understand. But yeah, they don't post every day anymore, but they have just an ass load of non-violent games. Like, a post from February 10th says, "Fun fact, there are now enough non-violent games listed on this Twitter account and the old Tumblr blog that you could play a different suggestion every day for 3 years. Longer if you actually wanted to finish them." Which is pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Of course, the first game that pops into my mind as a non-violent game actually has a lot of violence in it. I was like Battle Chef Brigade, where you're cooking, but no, you have to go out and kill things to get ingredients. So, whoops.
Doesn't it? It has battle in the name,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. My brain
So-
just saw like the cooking screenshot, and I was like, "Oh, like," and then it kicked in. Oh no! Then there's all the parts where she's running around murdering aminals. I'll be all right. Night,
The
man.
simulator was so peaceful until the murder happened.
Right?
Someone earlier, I think when we were still talking about walking simulators, brought up the Myst games.
I don't know if that counts. Like as a walk,
Well,
it's clearly
yeah,
a
it's
puzzle
like-
game.
Yeah, it's like a cross
I
between
think they
puzzles
said
and
it.
walking. Mhm.
I think they actually said it said puzzle games missed. So
Okay.
I think
that is-
I think I think they were simply referring to when we had asked about like just games without combat. I think they were maybe it was someone that wasn't here for the initial puzzle games that we had talked about, so they were throwing their 2 cents in. This
Either
might-
way, what about
yes,
Miss Mike?
I'd have to scroll up.
That's something where with a lot of neat and kind of fiendish puzzles sometimes. That also has a kind of a deep story to back it up once you get into it. It's really interesting. It's one of those things where sometimes you don't even know you're looking at a puzzle yet, or when you figure out you're looking at a puzzle, you have no idea what it means at first. Sometimes you can figure out what you're supposed to do just by standing there, but sometimes you have to go see something else entirely to realize, oh, now I finally understand the importance of such and such back over there on the other side of the level. But yeah, I had so much fun going around and exploring those. I played completely through the first 3, and like I owned the 4th one and the 5th one, but never got too far into them to finish them. I think part of the reason was because at the time I got them, the computer I had wasn't quite good enough anymore to run them. And then after I got a better computer, I didn't think to go back and try them again. I think I have Steam licenses to all of them from something else I've purchased several years ago. I should go check them out again. But yeah, and the way each one of the games gets bigger and just more technologically advanced in the way they're able to use graphics and puzzles and make everything more expansive is just really cool. Like the third game even has this kind of like pretend like free look thing, because before in the first 2 games you're basically just clicking through a really sophisticated like slideshow.
Yeah.
Where when you click on on one area of the screen, it takes you to a slide that shows you moving somewhere else. But in the third game, when you move, you still just do these little jumps. It's not complete free movement, but the way but in each one you can free look all around you, and to save on processing power, what you're really doing is moving through a set of like pre-rendered image spheres that are linked together in a certain way. So what you're doing is just moving from the center of one sphere to another of these, really nice looking pre-rendered images, and you can free look around them to explore the world and interact with stuff. So that was a really cool innovation that they made there.
Huh. That is cool.
Yeah, because otherwise, the stuff that they were rendering and putting up there would, would melt people's computers if they were trying to do it in real time.
Well, yeah.
Even the first two games, everything is pre-rendered, because computers at the time that the original Myst came out could not render environments like that in real time. Not a person's computer at home. It just wouldn't have been able to do it. But pre-rendered still images with like little videos embedded in them when something needed to move, that worked.
I'm reminded of like the first Resident Evil, where only the things that had to move were on the screen. Everything else was just a pre-rendered background.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Could you consider Resident Evil to be a puzzle game? But it's definitely got combat.
I mean,
I don't think
no.
you can win without blowing something up. Well,
I
that'd be
mean,
interesting
most
to
of
try.
them aren't even puzzles. They're just
No, it's like get the red key.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like calling
Find
Doom
the
a puzzle
crack.
game.
Yeah.
But you had
Except-
to find the thing, and you had to figure out where it went to. It had puzzle aspects in it,
It
but they
aspects in
were
it
just
without
a
actually being
component of the game, not
right,
a
not
major feature of it.
right. They were
Like-
a way to like pace your progress.
Yeah, it's sort of like saying that Zelda games are puzzle games. The vast majority of heavy air quotes puzzles in Zelda games are not puzzles at all.
Yeah, or beat the boss to find the star-shaped gem.
Yeah,
Well,
find the
You need
item
5
that
of
lets
these
you.
so you can get to this area and so on.
Yeah,
There are some where it's like, okay, there's 5 blocks in this room. You can only move each block once. How do you move them all so that you can get through? That is a puzzle. But
Yes.
but those are rare. Like to the point where when I was playing the Switch remake of Link's Awakening, which I had never played before on the Game Boy, when I got to an honest to god puzzle in the what's it called, the Eagle's Tower or whatever,
Oh.
I had no idea what I was supposed to do. Like you're supposed to take the big steel ball and throw it at a handful of pillars to actually collapse the tower. There was no indication that that's what I was supposed to do. I was completely lost for a very long time. Because that's like an actual puzzle. And it's a Zelda game. And we don't have actual puzzles that work your brain in Zelda games. So, yeah. It always bugs me when I hear people talking about, oh, Zelda has puzzles. No, it doesn't. Like it has a couple here and there, but by and large, no.
but
No,
they're
it doesn't.
they're not puzzle games. Yeah. So, gentlemen, this has been a very interesting conversation. I'm gonna go ahead and log out as I am falling asleep. I only got 4 hours of sleep last night, but I
That
was
is
going to
not
make
enough,
sure
dude.
it's not enough. But I wanted to make sure I wanted to be here for this conversation. I have a very light day at work tomorrow, so I'm thinking there's a heavy chance of napping somewhere in the day. So, but I'm gonna go and log off so I can get my at least a couple more hours of sleep tonight. Good to talk to everybody. and I look forward to talking to you next week as well.
All
My
right.
final
Good night,
thought is
B.
I'm gonna go get some. I'm gonna go get some sleep.
Good night. I will also be heading out here myself. Um, final thoughts. Um, it's been fun getting to talk about games and all that. Um, yeah, just random part of me is I hadn't played Minecraft in a good little while. I get little like spur of the moment. I'm gonna go. I think I feel like playing this game, and then that's sort of how I ended up playing Minecraft and where I am now in playing it at this point is I just on the spur of a moment just decided, yeah, I want to go play some Minecraft, and it just got me back into playing it. So that's my final thought.
Well, okay then.
And with that, I'm going to head on to bed. You all have a wonderful night.
All right, night, Zerk. Well, Mike, they all abandoned us.
They did.
Guess that means we should wrap up this little Just Chatting episode, huh?
Yeah, I suppose.
I mean, unless you have more stuff you want to chat about.
Let's see. No, I mean, the only thing I can think of was something that was going to be part of the other topic that we planned. So.
Oh yeah, we'll hold on to that, write it down, or text it to us so we have it or something, and we'll do that next week.
Yeah,
So hopefully, next episode we'll do the game add-ons / expansions / patches / DLC conversation. Once we iron out exactly what we're talking about. Because I don't think we're all quite on the same page yet. So, which is why we couldn't do it this week. So, yeah, we'll try to get that figured out. And then next week, or next episode, whenever that'll be, hopefully, that's what we'll talk about. Very excited. That should be fun. All right, I guess I will do the Patreon thing. So, hey, patreon.com/themanapool. You know the drill. This is not a drill. It's a podcast. Let me thank our mythic lifeguards in... this isn't right. Hang on. There we go. In this order? This order. Yeah. So, thank you to Andrew Odie, ALK Alters, Connor Kennedy, Mr. Dr. Lewis, Jason Doan, Pinball Witch, Casey, Cody Buckowing, Andrew Hunt, Jason Kaus. A lot of Jasons in here. Not entirely sure if trustworthy. Team You Hellas Are You, Mike, don't trust that guy either. Jake Jansons, John Parker, Scuzzo, Kim Ho, and Al. So, yeah. Weird how this entire episode ended up being primarily about non-violent video games. Mm-hmm. Purely accidentally. Nice. It's all right then. So thank you all so very much for joining us for this Dorks Just Chatting. And let us know, what are your favorite non-violent video games?